Welcome boys to a little trade recap of the two trades that I took today on EUR USD on the Mech variation of the tap and barrel model. These were both losses and one was in London session and one was in New York session. So we're going to run through exactly why we took both of these trades and more importantly why I took the second one after losing the first one. So we're going to start with the bias and I'll zoom back on the little, tell you what, we'll get rid of all of this shit and we'll zoom back on the little replay tool and get us at 8 o'clock because that is when market opens and that is what we want to do. So right here, the first thing I'm doing is establishing the bias. And now the way that we do this is on the 4 hour for the Mech variation, looking for the most recent break of structure to a fractal, which for us is right here. If it was to the downside, we'd be bearish, but because it's to the upside, we are bullish. So that means coming into London session, we're waiting for Asian session lows, which I believe was right here. We're going to draw this out here, Asian session lows right here to get swept. And all that means is just for price to hit that level. I had an alert on this level and we get swept right here. Now the next thing we're looking for is the first bullish candle to initiate this fake out zone. So as soon as we've had that, I'm going to draw the fib range from the highest point in Asian session, which I think was, yeah, it was this bit up here. Just double checking that didn't go over to the other session. I'm going to draw that down to the bottom of the sweep right there. And now we have this lovely little zone. And we're just going to wait for a tap into this zone. So we can draw this little zone, we can get rid of the fib trace, and this is this fake out. What we're looking for here is this kind of move up as buyers get in, and then boom, stops out, and then an actual move up. This is what we're looking for. So once we have had our sweep, we wait for the tap. I don't think this quite tapped it. When you zoom in, yeah, let's zoom in all the way. This didn't quite tap it, and I'd have an alert on this as well to make sure that it actually did get tapped. So we're going to wait. And it gets tapped right here. So now, as soon as we've had this, we are now looking for the entry. And the entry is off of a break of structure. So the most recent break of structure to a fractal, boom, we get that break right here. Now we're ready for the actual entry, which is using a limit order on the 0618. So we draw the fib range from the lowest point to the highest point right here. And we wait for price to come back in to the 0618. As soon as we get tapped into the 0618, we are now here. We have a limit order on this 0618 right here, stops at the 1.025, targeting a fixed 3 every single time. And what happened? Stopped straight out. Completely fine. That's the way the game goes. Then moving on to the next trade, which was in New York session right here. Exactly the same setup. We wait again. First thing I do is double check the bias. Very important. Double check the bias. I assume it hasn't changed, because this wasn't a fractal and yet it hasn't changed. So we're still bullish, still looking for buys, even though we just lost and all of this shit is moving down, doesn't matter, keeping it mechanical. Lowest point in London session for New York session to sweep it. We get the sweep right here, exactly the same, wait for the fake out, draw it from the highest point all the way down to the lowest point. Let me get rid of the rest of this shit over here so it doesn't get too confusing. And right here, now we have the fake out zone, waiting for a tap into this, which we get right here. This is the fake out. Now we're looking for that break of structure to the most recent fractal. Where's the most recent fractal? Right here. Wait for the break. We get the break right here. Now we're looking for the entry, draw from the lowest point to the highest point, tapped in right here, 0618, limit order here. Targeting a fixed 3. And what happens? A little bit of profit, get a little bit gassed, and then boom, the biggest Drake candle you can imagine. Straight through here. This wasn't news or anything, this was just unlucky that it just stopped all the way through, and of course got slipped as well. We don't like to use that word because it's a negative word, but we got slipped quite a bit on this one. And that's completely fine. Now, on to a bit of the technicals, or I guess the back end stuff, is why did I take this trade after losing the first one? And that is because in my system, I take one trade per session per account. And that is completely fine on one account to take one London session trade and one New York session trade. That's completely fine. And I have different accounts for different pairs, different accounts for different sessions, and I divvy them up quite a bit. So this trade here, I'll put it on screen. I think I took this on about 15 different accounts and it was a heavy loss. I got slipped quite a lot on both of these. So I'm losing 1.66% times 2 plus a little bit of slippage on every account. I think I blew about 7 accounts on this one, being completely transparent. It was pretty brutal. But that is just part of the game. That's how it goes. We were on a bit of a heater recently on the winning streak. So the loss streak, the rebalance is bound to come in. That's completely fine. And yeah, that was it for this one. Lovely little trade recap. Going to try and get back into these, doing a little bit more on the socials front. And I will see you guys in the next one.